Hello and welcome to Ivory Blush Roses. My name is Lisa and today we're going to start some Christmas stitching. This is a continuation of a project that I began last year, but I never got finished. I apologize for my voice, it's a little off today, but I'm really excited to get this project done, and I am stitching this in November because I would like to be able to put it out as a decoration in my home for the holiday season. Let's take a look at my wool crazy quilted Christmas tree. Let me just do a quick recap. This tree I made from a kit that I got at Quilter Station in Lee's Summit, Missouri, and I got this many years ago. We're probably talking 10 years ago. I have looked on their website and I don't see it, but I don't know if you contact the store if they might have it, so you can check with them. I really liked it. Now it came with one of these sticky transfers that you cut apart and you stick on and then you stitch over it. I really don't like stitching that way. So I opted to stitch mine not in the colors that they showed. Theirs was very primitive in appearance. And it came with little rusty jingle bells and some stars. I think I've added a couple of other star buttons and things that I had found. I don't have anything in my house that's that rustic anymore, so I decided to do something a little bit different. And that was sparked by finding these big star beads. I think I found these at Hobby Lobby, and I really loved them. They just sort of sparked the whole idea of it. Next, I ordered some of these little tiny ones. They're probably 3/16 of an inch. They're not 1/4 of an inch. They're definitely under that, but a little bigger than an 1/8, so. And that worked well. And I had a couple of these sort of medium-sized ones in my stash. And I did find some more that are a similar size. They're pretty close. So that's nice to have some more of that additional size. Now the good thing about all of these is they thread through the side. And so that makes it really perfect for adding to a crazy quilt project. So I have those. I've done all the stitching in various shades of green and white. The beads I've used an opaque white. There is some iridescent white as well. And then these silver lined green beads. And so I'm going to stick with that. I had a couple other things in my stash that I had pulled to use, but at this point enough of it is done that I'm not going to continue adding new material at this point. I'm going to use what I've already used on this. I just love how light and bright it is, and I can't wait to get finished. So I've got 5 seams to finish. We're going to get started on that. I'm looking for starry, sparkly, snowflakey seams, and I think we're due for some snowflakes down here. And I think we also need to bring through some of these little iridescent white beads. I'll be looking for something to do that with. The seams that I did originally were these 3 seams here. Then I added this chain swag that I added some lazy daisies and the little stars to. I added a meandering feather stitch with stars and the little bead clusters. There's also some lazy daisies in there in green. This one is a chevron stitch, and I really like that one. That was a good long garlandy kind of a seam. This one is a zigzag chain stitch, and I really like the impact of that one. I added a little green bead in the middle of each little cluster. And then this one is, I'm not sure how you call it, but it's an arched buttonhole stitch. And I added little stars and leaves to that, and I'm real happy with that one. But now we have, I was thinking that this almost needs something a little bit snowflake-like. Down here we need to bring a snowflake down or 2. And of course, once I get the seam stitched, then we'll consider adding some of these other star beads in here. I actually am thinking I may add, this may just need a little bit of additional in here. We'll just try and figure out what it needs as we get closer to the end. But I'm going to wait to do that till I have more of the seams stitched. So let's take a look. One of the things that I really enjoy doing is kind of mixing up the stitches so that there's not repeats of things. And so any of these things that are sparkly and rays would work really well for something like that. I'm just going to go through really quickly and see if there's something that catches my eye and says, oh, that would work. Well, now how about just something simple like this? That's a short seam. It's not very long. And we could just do 1, 2, 3 or 4 on there. That would work really well. And that's snowflake-ish. Now we could always just add a couple of regular snowflakes, and I have lots of snowflake designs. So we could always just do a variety of snowflakes along there. I sort of like this idea. While this is butterflies, it's got that little curving line, but then you have something along it periodically. And we could kind of do that and have snowflake, 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 and then some little other decoration off of it. I like that idea of just a little squiggly line with the snowflakes kind of scattered around it. So let's go find the other snowflakes and see if we've got a couple of cute small ones. And let's do that. All right, let's leave that open to that. And again, we're going to think about doing just kind of a curvy line with that snowflake on it. Oh my gosh, I got to find my white marker here. And my recollection is that nothing works terribly well on the wool. So we'll do what we can. You know, I may just freehand this one and see if we can. All right, and I'm thinking a snowflake here, here. So is it maybe only going to have 2 snowflakes on it? I suppose we could always set them in here. We could do that. And then some little leaves off of the sides. So let's do that. So then I need to pick my color. And these are pretty dark, so I'd like to bring something through that's a little lighter and brighter. And I'm looking at this one, thinking this might be good. See if we can find the end of it. Oh yeah, that shows up really nice along there. But you know, with snowflakes, we could also do a white one, because we're going to do some little lazy daisy things off of it in green. So let's maybe do a white one. Or let me think here. We've also got this pale sage green. And I've used it for leaves up here. It'd be nice to carry it through to something else. Let's use this one. I know we've been working in the hoop and frame. I'm not going to do that on this one because it's completely irregular. All my frames are taken up with other projects right now. And I really don't want to buy any more because as soon as we start finishing some of these off, it's going to free some up. So I think let's start back up here. I like my things to be kind of on the continuous side. Now the other question is, do I want to do a chain stitch or do I want to do a stem stitch? I think we're just going to do a stem stitch. So stem or outline, it doesn't matter. You just keep your thread on the same side of the needle when you're stitching. And if you're always on the same side of your needle, then your stitches will look so much neater. So this one's going to read almost as white, but not quite. I took a little big stitch there, so we'll come back up just a little bit. So I'm going to attach this to a playlist for this project, and you can go back and see some of the beginning of that. I pieced this years ago, so there's no piecing video, and there will not be a piecing video, because when I pieced this, I was not filming videos at that time. When I did this, I used the traditional flip and sew piecing, but if I were to do it again, I would probably just overlap the edges of the wool, because my seams are pretty bulky in here. I didn't know back in those days that that was an option. because all of this wool is actually already sort of pre-felted. It's probably been run through a washing machine, and so they're already a little thicker and the edges don't ravel. Now this is not going to be a perfect little curve here since it was a hand drawn and my lines are already disappearing as I work with this. They're fading away. I'm just really happy to be stitching on this. I've been kind of waiting for it all year. So we're just going to go right to that seam there. So there's just a nice little swag. Looks like we used a rayon thread here. I do have a Valdani number 12, and that might be good for that. I also have a DMC 8, which seems like it might, I don't know. It's got a little more sheen to it, and that actually works really well for a snowflake. Let's go with this one. So let me think about this. If I did one here, we could do one there. I liked it on the seam, I think, better than in between. These are pretty simple ones with just lazy daisies and straight stitches, but a lot of these that I have patterns for are very different. I like that one. I also really like this one here. Let's start with that one. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of pick my center point here, and we're just going to stitch. Well, I think I'm going to be doing that wrong if I do it that way. So I'm just going to stitch back down here. Let's go out here, because that's like little fly stitches. So let's stitch them as fly stitches. And now my scale may be slightly different, which is fine. I think I'm adding an extra fly stitch in there. That's fine. No two snowflakes alike, correct? And now I'm going to come over and stitch the one on the opposite side. I'm going to catch my thread. Do want to pull it nice and snug. And so when I'm doing this, I want to divide the remaining space into 3 equal sections. So I'm going to kind of look at where I'm at there and come out. It's easy to find templates that have hexagon shapes, so if you need to mark it, you can always mark it. I've stitched enough snowflakes that I don't feel like I need to do that. And so this little branch is going to cover up a little bit of our little curve there. And we're kind of bringing them all together at the center. And now we're going to go out opposite where I was. So this one we're going to come straight across and try and come out right out there. And so my little spokes are going to sort of run into one another here. Try and aim for about halfway in between the other 2 spokes. And I'm actually a little too far off to the side here. So on this wool, it's pretty forgiving. So I'm just going to go down and I'm going to come up a little bit to the side here. And I think that's just going to get buried in there and you won't even see that, especially by the time we add some little additional embellishments to that. Although as I'm looking at this, I'm not sure how much extra it's going to need. It's coming out really cute. I'm really happy with how it's turning out. Right down to the center. Yeah, and that's actually a really cute little snowflake there. Let's try this other one the way that that one was supposed to be. We're going to go over here. And I think just to make my life easier and kind of keep me on track, I'm just going to stitch out the spoke. And I think we're going to be coming back and adding a bead in the middle. You may find it easier to stitch toward the center to make sure that center stays true. Once I get that second one in, then I'm trying to divide the space. And I'm going to come up on the other side, go back, come up out here, halfway in between and back. And I do notice that this one is a little short. So let's see here. So on that one, there is an extra little straight stitch out there. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to come back and make those little lazy daisies. And I think these little lazy daisies are going to kiss at the tops. And it may not be exact. I'm just sort of making it up here as we go. The fabric that you're stitching on, the thread that you're stitching with, all are going to have an impact on how your little snowflakes progress. If I'd used a finer thread, I could probably get more detail, but I liked the luster of this one. I think I probably could have done those a little closer to the end of my stalks, and that would have helped. We're far enough along, I'm not going to take it out. Oops. Well, let's see if we can squeeze that one in, and then I need more thread. We're just getting past a snowstorm. It just has felt very Christmassy. It definitely helped get me in the mood for working on this. I need to come back and extend this stalk out here. It's just not quite long enough compared to all the others. I'd love to hear if you've got any holiday or Christmas stitching projects that you're working on. This is really the only one I have this year. I always have a number of things that I could be working on, but this is the only one that I really plan on working on and getting finished this year because I've got so many other projects I'm trying to complete. All right, now what are we going to do with that? I'm actually just thinking I'm going to put little beads out here at the end, and we're going to call that one good. Let's come up with another little one down here on this side. Well, here's where we're just simply winging it. We're just going to make a snowflake, and it will be what it is. Now I am kind of starting in the center, I realize, on these. Normally I would tell you to go the other way, but I think that's how I got that one that was too short. And see, that's going to be too long. This is Lisa from the future while I'm editing. I need to apologize because while I was filming, the primary camera quit filming and I didn't catch it. And the side camera didn't have a very good view, and so you see almost nothing of the stitching of this last snowflake. So it switches rather abruptly. I tried to include a little bit of footage of what you could see of me stitching on that last snowflake. You can't see very much, and so I apologize for that and beg your patience. Let's keep watching. It is what it is, folks. Let me just take a quick gander here and see, now that I have my spokes in, what do I want to do with those spokes? We're going to put in these little pairs of lazy daisies off the end of them. They're not going to be very big, and so it looks like I'm coming up just on either side of that spoke. So in the past couple of years, 2-3 years actually, I've done Vlogmas. I'm not going to be doing that this year. I'm just focusing entirely on stitching content. So I think we're going to have a couple videos of stitching seams here and then one of finishing this project. So we have a few little fun Christmas things coming. We're going to be making some simple ornaments. They're kind of fun. And then I might do a little something on my sewing room Christmas tree. A fun little project for that I actually filmed a good bit of last year, but wasn't quite finished with that as well. My crazy quilt group that I've been facilitating is making ornaments here at the beginning of December. As I'm working out that one, I may film what we're going to be doing in that group. So we have at least one, maybe 2 different types of ornaments coming. And both of them are the kinds of things that should be relatively quick and easy. And that ended up being a really big snowflake. That's all right. Variety is the spice of life. Now let's add some beads to that. I already have a needle threaded with white beading thread. So which beads do we want to use? I was thinking I'd use these little iridescent ones. Well, I know this video ends rather abruptly. Originally, I planned to stitch several seams in a single video, and I realized that it's just too long of a video, so I've cut it up. Here is that finished seam. When I look at it, I realize I've almost completely lost that inner stem stitched wave. The snowflakes covered it almost completely. I did have one spot where it felt like it had a little gap, and I added just a very simple little straight stitch star. That was that seam. It's probably the seam I'm least happy with so far on this project, and I keep looking at it thinking maybe I should take it out. And then the other part of me says, no, let's just keep going with it. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed watching me stitch these snowflakes. There's 4 more seams to come to finish this project. Thank you so much for being here while I've stitched on my crazy quilt Christmas tree today. I am just so happy with this project and the way it's turning out. Have a beautiful day, happy stitching, and I'll see you in the next video.